Joining us right here on the Splash Live from West Bloomfield Township Assessor's office, we have Township Assessor Robert Scripture. Thank you for being here, Robert, first and foremost.
Good morning, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
Now, I want to talk about taxes, right? Summer taxes are due right here in Michigan, property taxes. Can you explain the process and timeline for assessing property tax values in West Bloomfield Township?
Sure. The figures that appear in your 2024 summer tax bill really began in development last year. Assessing department spends all year reviewing properties, reviewing sales in order to establish an assessment for all 25,000 parcels here in West Bloomfield. The assessment notices are then mailed out to all properties in February, and then all assessments and the assessment roll undergo a review process in March, along with county and state equalization reviews soon after. The millages that appear in your tax bill for calculating your taxes are compiled from all taxing authorities, approved by the Township Board at the end of September. The 2024 summer tax bills are mailed out in early July. If you haven't received one, please call the West Bloomfield Treasurer's Department and they will get one in your hands ASAP.
Nice, nice. So a lot of moving factors that go into it, a science and art to assessing these property taxes. So let's kind of get into it. What factors are considered when determining property tax assessments?
To simplify it, there's two main factors. There is the property record card, which contains everything that's specific to your property, which will be your square footages, your bathrooms, fireplaces, porches, decks, ceramic tile, siding, brick, etc. And the second part is sales. It's sales information or market data that's occurring in your area. To make sure your property is being assessed accurately, it's simply just call the assessing department and have any of the staff review the property record card with you. The property record card information is also available on our website. It's free of charge to the property owners.
Interesting, interesting. So sales affects our property tax value as well as a few other features with homes in our neighborhood and within proximity. Definitely makes sense now that you put that in perspective. Right now on the Splash Live from West Bloomfield Township Assessor's office, Township Assessor Robert Scripture joining us. Many residents have questions about the difference between assessed value and taxable value. Can you explain what that difference is exactly?
It is complicated, but it doesn't have to be. The assessed value is the figure that the assessing department has to develop every year for every property. It's supposed to reflect or does reflect the 50% of the usual selling price, which means this value reflects market data. Taxable value is what we pay taxes on. It's a calculated value which has limitations on how much it can increase year over year. Aside from the first year after an uncapping, and uncapping is like a transfer of ownership or a sale of a property, the two sets of numbers rarely ever are the same again. Assuming that no change is made to the property, the assessed value can increase however much the market dictates, but the taxable value can only increase by the consumer price index or 5%, whichever is less.
Oh, wow. Okay. Definitely a science to it right there. Okay, so Robert, I want to ask, if we already spoke about property tax and being assessed accurately, right? But in the instance that there is some type of flaw, some type of mishap, some type of inaccuracy there, how can residents go about disputing that or handling that before missing a deadline without any type of punishment?
Great question. Again, I always encourage the first step is to call the West Bloomfield Assessing Department. We have knowledgeable staff. We want to look for the inaccuracies. If there's a problem with the property record card, for residential properties, the appeals process occurs in March, which instructions for appealing are printed on the assessment change notice, which are mailed out in February. The March Board of Review is a panel of residents that are charged with listening to the taxpayers' appeals, and then they have the authority to make changes to the assessment roll based upon the evidence provided. Commercial industrial properties, they are permitted to skip the March Board Review process and go directly to the state of Michigan as long as they file by May 31st.
So there's a process and there's a specific time where they can actually go and repeal whatever type of tax assessment they have to their property. It's great to understand right there. So with property taxes and homeowners, essentially there's a lot of, like we said, a lot of moving parts, a lot of misunderstanding, misconceptions. Are there any common misconceptions from your knowledge that homeowners or residents have about property taxes? And then let's get into how they can be more educated about it.
Okay. The biggest misconception is when you're looking at purchasing a property, you might see on a listing or on Zillow or the taxes being paid by a property owner. And to assume that those are going to be your level of taxation when you purchase this home is most of the time incorrect. Going back to the taxable value being capped and only increasing by a small amount,
Right.
those you're essentially going to have to call the assessing department and get an estimate, a rough estimate for what that taxable value could be after you purchase the property. That's one misconception. And the second one I can think of right now is just, I usually get the whole, why are my taxes higher than my neighbors? We have similar homes. That goes back to the uncapping. More than likely, your neighbor has been residing in that property, say for 20 years, while you've only been there for 3. They have a much lower capped value, lower taxable value.
No, good point. And we discussed that with a real estate agent right here on the Splash Live recently too, about how moving in and being a first-time homeowner can definitely make a huge difference in the property taxes that you receive versus someone who's been staying there for 10, 20, 30 years or whatever the case may be. Rob, we appreciate your time and your information for being here. We got to kind of leave. Any additional information that you want to let residents know about before we let you go?
No, we have our website at the assessing department. It's full of facts, information and guides to help you understand property tax administration, property tax law. And again, feel free to call the assessing department at any point and speak to any of our knowledgeable staff.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for providing that insight. WBTownship.org for more information. Also, join us right here on the Splash Live. Provide more information regarding property taxes right here in West Bloomfield. Township Assessor for the West Bloomfield Township Assessor's Office, Robert Scripture. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.